Okay, I think we've done the signing in, and we've got everyone's in the room for the briefing. So we'll get started. We've got 59 competitors in the race, so there's a lot of people here, and it's an excellent race. Obviously, the Gold Coast race, but it's great to see so many people competing this year. Firstly, I'd like to welcome our race committee. We've got Lee Goddard, who's the chair. He's online. In the room, we have David Kellett, Mark Pavilion, Noel Cornish, and Steve Murphy from Southport Yacht Club. So thank you guys for making yourselves available. And Mark will be giving us a briefing shortly. I also have the Commodore of Southport Yacht Club here, Glenn Burrell, and he'll be also making a presentation. But first up, we'll go through the weather, and I have Gabriel Woodhouse here, but also with her colleague Edward Townsend Medlock, who I believe is going to be giving the briefing on the weather. So Ed, I'm going to come up. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ed. I'm here representing the Bureau of Meteorology, and I'm going to be giving you some marine safety information as well as the forecast for what you can expect during the race. So starting off with just some marine safety things and where you get our forecasts from. So starting off, the forecast wind speed, wind direction, and forecast strengths are done by the forecast wind speeds are done by 10-minute averages, as well as the direction from the 8 compass points. But since they are averages, and of course winds come in lulls and gusts, the wind speeds could be 40% stronger than those 10-minute averages, and even stronger still if there is a squall or a thunderstorm, which will be mentioned separately in the warning. Along with that, you might see terms like strong, gale, storm force, and hurricane force. Unlikely to see those last two, but they are categories of wind speeds with the knots shown there, the average 10 minutes. And storm force winds nothing to do with thunderstorms. They're just a category of wind speed, which is just a caveat. Seas and swell, of course, the seas are driven by the winds, but they can come in the form of wind waves, which are generated by the winds wherever you are, and swell can travel a lot longer distance and can come from a completely different direction. We generally give the seas and the swell separately on the coastal waters forecast, but also the significant wave height, which is a combination of the three. When we do give that significant wave height, it's worth noting that while you're out on the water, you might see maximum waves up to twice the size of the significant wave height. So that's what you should prepare for. Significant weather, these are some terms you might see on the forecast. You might see things like thunderstorms, lows, cold fronts, etc. You'll mostly just be seeing cold fronts and thunderstorms today, though. And they're the significant weather features that you should be looking out for and tracking, since they are the things that cause all the bad weather. All right, where do we find these forecasts while you're out on the water, since sometimes we don't have internet access? Well, we do a coastal waters forecast for all areas within 60 nautical miles of the land. They're issued twice per day, and they're forecast for 4 days ahead, although they are updated if there's a change in the weather that needs to be notified. There's also a local waters forecast for the areas around the harbour and here, issued for the bays and harbours. If there are warnings, they'll be updated every 6 hours on the coastal waters forecast. A note about that warning as well is that we only put out the warnings for the current day and the day ahead. So you might see something like strong wind warning for Monday on the Eden coast, depending on whichever coast you're looking at that particular moment. And it'll be consistent with whatever the warning is on the website. But if you want the actual wind speeds that you'll be expecting with that warning, they'll be in the coastal waters forecast and not on the website itself. Sorry, not on the warning page itself, I should say. And also at the top, you've got the weather situation, which might be relevant depending on the day, as well as the seas and stuff. Another product that we do issue, this one's issued twice daily, it's called the High Seas Forecast. It does similar things to the Coastal Waters Forecast, it gives you the seas, the winds, and the weather features, but it's for the areas outside that 60 nautical miles close to the shore. Instead of giving you the location of these features in terms of the coast, it gives you in terms of lat longs since you're out on the water. Along with that, we also have the high seas ocean wind warning, which is similar to that coastal warning, but it's generally for gale force winds and above, and for the strong winds when you're out of the water outside of that 60 nautical miles. And we're covering obviously the southeastern areas, most of the one you're going to be listening to, and yeah, issued twice per day. Forecast 24 hours ahead. Another tool you can use is METI, which is the gridded forecast data that we make back at base at the Bureau. It's updated twice daily and soon to be updated 4 times daily. I shouldn't say soon, I should say in the coming months instead of twice, but for now it's just twice daily. Right, where do we find this information? You can get it from a lot of different places, although I think a lot of you probably have like Starlink on your boats now, so you can just access the website. But other ways to get it, you can get the high seas forecast via satellite as well as the warnings. You can get them via radio as well on those stations during the day, those stations during the night. They are forecast every hour if there are warnings, but if there are, it's just daily forecasts every 4 hours. And there's also a marine light, which is a web page that is low bandwidth. If you have, slow internet or something while you're out in the water, it's good to use that instead of the website. All right, let's get to the good part. What's the weather going to look like for the next 4 days? Up here, I have the prog chart, which just shows an outlook on what Saturday and Sunday is expected to look like. You'll see that we have a big, nice weather feature on top of Sydney right as the race starts on the Saturday. That's representing a cold front, which is generally brings some strong winds as long as along the showery weather. And you can see it kind of follows you up the coast. It goes a bit faster than I'm sure the boats will go, but it's moving up the coast during the Saturday and the Sunday, getting to the Gold Coast around like late Saturday, early Sunday morning. So it'll probably be ahead of you. But it's the main thing that's going to be driving all of the weather, the wind and the rain. So forecast summary, we're looking at windy, showery conditions for the race start with a strong north-northeasterly wind. There'll probably be a marine wind warning when you start and may even be gale force within the Sydney off the coast, depending if it beefs up its strength in the coming forecasts. The front, as I said before, is expected to reach the north coast by the northern border by late Saturday or early Sunday. And behind the feature, you can expect the winds to shift to the northwest and then eventually the west early next week. Along with that, you can expect those showery conditions along with the front at the start of the race, but as it gets further away, you can expect conditions to clear, the winds to drop down a little bit and moderate, and then becoming pretty calm by the time you get to the new week. Winds may be fresh, gusty at times, and there might also be some thunderstorms offshore with this front, particularly around Sydney on the first day and then further north on the Sunday. And the other thing I'm going to touch on is the sea state with lots of different swell directions and wind waves directions, as well as the East Australia current, which is looking particularly strong at the moment, but I'll get to that when I get to that slide. All right, starting on the race start on Saturday. So as I mentioned, north to northeasterly winds as that front is crossing Sydney pretty much as we arrive. 20 to 25 knots, but gusts of 30 to 40 as per the forecast. And so we'll most likely have that strong wind warning active. Waves generated mostly by the winds, 2 to 3 meters, but there is swell coming from the south and east throughout the race. Pretty small, only 1 meter though. Shower activity is probably expected, and you might see some thunderstorms offshore. They're not going to form on the land, not expected to. They're most likely going to be forming offshore. And if those thunderstorms do form, it's going to be a cloudy day anyway, so it's going to be hard to spot them forming at all. Looking at the afternoon, it's pretty similar on the left, but yeah, it's a slightly decrease in the winds, but they're still 20 to 25 knots offshore. And inshore of the Hunter, it's a bit weaker as they do turn north and they are shielded a bit more by the Hunter. The wind trend's getting weaker with similar seas, and as the day goes on, the chance of showers is going to get less and less throughout the day, going from kind of scattered shower conditions in the morning to more like isolated conditions in the afternoon, but the chance of thunderstorms remains. And moving further north, during the night, as the front moves off, you'll see the winds shifting to the northwest here, where they'll be somewhere between the northerlies and northwesterlies, moderating to around 10 to 15 knots close to the shore, but remaining around 20 to 25 offshore. as the winds die down, the seas will die down too, but we still have significant wave heights of 2 to 3 meters by this point, with just cloudy conditions, chance of showers, and chance of a thunderstorm, mostly in the north on this particular time step. So kind of, more towards Coffs, and yeah, quite far offshore is where those thunderstorms are expected to form. Starting Sunday, you can see the winds die down a lot as they become westerly, and the cold front is way away now. North of Foster, you can see west to northwesterlies 5 to 10 knots within 20 miles of the coast, and still remaining around 15 to 20 further off. With the winds dying down, the waves die down, so that's significant wave heights around that 1 to 1.5 meters, with those swells continuing from the south and the east. Just expecting it to be partly cloudy, actually might be a quite nice day by the time you get there, with still a slight chance of a thunderstorm pretty far offshore. Sunday afternoon, all the way up, we're doing the forecast all the way up to the Gold Coast now. You can see it's looking pretty light at times, and it could even be calm conditions at some points, particularly near Coffs, you see, where the winds are looking a bit variable, since we are under some high pressure there. 15 to 20 knots south of Foster. If anyone is still there on the Sunday afternoon, you might get a little bit of a wind pickup as a second feature crosses through Sydney. But if you're to the north of there, the winds are going to be pretty light from the northwest, partly cloudy, isolated showers in the north. And by the Sunday night, you might get a little bit of a pickup in the winds from the west again, and they're looking pretty due west by this point, offshore 15 to 25 knots. And the wind and the weather will be pretty clear by this point. All right, looking at this complicated looking thing, it's just a picture of the situation for Monday, kind of a broad brush sort of way, since the models do get more and more uncertain as we get further out. But you can see here that the front's well away from the shore by Monday, which is this like big green blob on the left, on the right-hand side of all the images. And so it's going to be nice conditions on the Monday with those northwesterly to southwesterly winds persisting throughout Monday. And on Tuesday, the wind might end up shifting back to the northwest. So I'm particularly looking at these top two images here around the Gold Coast, since most people will be arriving by this point, but the winds might end up shifting back to the northwest and strengthening a little bit on the Tuesday. At least that's some early indications of the models. Some of them saying it's remaining moderate, with some increasing a little bit on the Tuesday, but just check the forecast for that one. And then when you're arriving in the Gold Coast, if you're there by Sunday afternoon, I don't know how long it takes you to get there, but if you are, it's not going to be raining. It's be showering in the morning, but in the afternoon, things are going to be clearing up significantly, just because that cold front will be made its way through. So the shower's there just for the morning period. It'll be clear by the afternoon. Monday's looking nice, sunny, but light winds as mentioned, which might be difficult. And on Tuesday, again, mostly a sunny morning, but it might be some showers in the afternoon, and generally light winds on the Tuesday too, calm at times. This is another point I wanted to tack on about the East Australia current. It's looking quite strong at the moment. 1.5 to 2 knots at the core strength, and the temperature at that core is around 22 to 23 degrees if you want to track it on your boat. It's pretty narrow at the moment, but it's very close to the shoreline, particularly around that Southwest Rocks area, and it splits off from the coast around 32.5 degrees east. And it's just important in the context of all of the winds and the swells that are happening right now. You've got the East Australia current coming from the north. You've got northerly driven wind waves generating seas of 2 to 3 meters, but you've also got an easterly swell and a southerly swell at the same time. There's just a lot of things to keep track of. And sea surface temps just showing you, as I mentioned before, the temperature of the East Australia currents around that 22 to 23 degrees Celsius. And the temperatures around the shore are around average for this time of year, around 19 to 20. And at the start of the race, you'll be going out on the tide's going out. So that's a good thing, I'm sure. You'll be going out on a outgoing tide, there it is, and a pretty small tidal range at both sides at the moment. Nothing really note there. And I think that's it. Here's a summary. So yeah, showery start, windy start, and the winds generally shift from north to the northwest as the front passes through. And by the time you get to Queensland, it might end up being quite a calm conditions, light winds, maybe a shower or two, but looking pretty nice by the time you get there. Might be some late, fresh, gusty westerly winds around the Hunter Macquarie coast on that Sunday afternoon. And the complex sea state I mentioned, lots of swell directions and currents and whatnot. I think that's everything I got. Cheers, everyone. Good luck with the race.
Thanks, Ed. That was it's an interesting forecast. I'd be really fascinated to see how you guys will tackle it, especially with, the option to go out wide maybe, and then how much current's running. And yeah, it's a fair bit on it. It'd be fascinating to keep track on where everyone's going. Okay, so next thing, I'd just like to introduce Mark Pavilion, who's from the race committee, stepping in for Lee, who's not available. So yeah, Mark, please, starting instructions. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Good evening, everyone. Sailors, competitors, athletes, supporters. Thank you for joining us for tonight's official race briefing for the 2025 Noakes Sydney to Gold Coast Yacht Race. My name is Mark Pavillard, and I'm a member of your race committee. I'm standing in for our chair, Lee Goddard. Also on the committee are David Kellett, Noel Cornish, and Steve Murphy of the Southport Yacht Club, our finishing partner. We also acknowledge the Commodores of the CYCA and the Southport Yacht Club, and thank the members of the BOM, AMSA, RMS, Water Police, Marine Rescue, New South Wales and Queensland Police, and the media. Most importantly, thank you, the competitors. This is a compulsory briefing, as is the weather briefing at 0800 on Saturday, 26th of July. Our job as a race committee is to ensure conditions are safe, fair, and fast. Race management and committee members are all volunteers, highly experienced, risk-aware, but not risk-averse, and independent. We rely on clear, black and white expectations to ensure fairness and discipline. We are guided by the notice of race, sailing instructions, and the racing rules of sailing. We've also incorporated, as you would have seen, key lessons from the 2024 Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race review. Thank you for your compliance and cooperation. A CYCA appointed technical committee will oversee IRC compliance, and we have a world-class national jury if needed. The race start. We're expecting, as you've just seen, a pretty exciting race start. We've got a large fleet of 59 yachts across clearly marked lines managed by the principal race officer. Important points. There will be no general recall. Allow room when approaching the committee vessel, monitoring VHF 72. Show consideration while maneuvering, particularly near other boats. This is a 384 nautical mile race. Pace yourselves accordingly. You won't win it in the first 200 meters, but you could lose it there. Media will be present and close to the action. They will operate on a non-interference basis, but may move between boats. The sailing instructions were published this week. Please read and comply. Position reporting and skeds. Position reports or skeds will be conducted twice daily at 0635 hours and 1835 hours via satellite phone. SMS your position to the provided number within 1 hour of the sked time. Fleet position files or CSV files will be emailed to your entry contact approximately 1 hour after each sked. Your position is to be taken at 0630 and 1830 sharp. SAP phone users not using a +88 number, i.e. using Starlink or cellular, must ensure testing was done using satellite connection. If you miss a sked, make every effort to report via either VHF, satellite phone, another vessel, or race control, or any race committee member, and you've got the numbers provided in your packs. Always monitor VHF channel 16 and report wind strength and wave height when winds exceed 40 knots. Safety and compliance. Boats must carry the correct minimum safety equipment at all times. All crew changes must be advised to and acknowledged by the sailing office. If you retire, restart, or offload crew, you must maintain minimum safety and crew qualifications. Continue skeds until in port and advise race control upon arrival. Please be self-sufficient regarding your shore logistics. Do not rely on police or emergency services for berthing, accommodation, or transport arrangements. Declarations must be lodged within protest time limits per the sailing instructions. Ensure you receive a receipt. Marine Rescue New South Wales will continue to monitor VHF 16 throughout the race. Personal safety and equipment. A special reminder to all crews, particularly the double-handed teams, to review your personal safety setups. Know how to use all equipment and test it regularly. Different PLBs may signal activation differently. Know how yours behaves. Check and service all PFDs and be vigilant about inadvertent activations. Immediately report any accidental EPIRB or PLB triggers. Man overboard and wildlife. In the event of a man overboard, use VHF to communicate early and externally. Deploy life-saving devices quickly. Respond appropriately to your circumstances and be ready to assist others. Sea life, such as whales, dolphins, sunfish. Please report any incidents at the next available opportunity. The Whale Alert app is available to assist with sightings and situational awareness. Medical and emergency planning. AMSA has medical professionals on call. Ensure you're aware of any pre-existing medical conditions on board and have an appropriate response plan. The Emergency Plus app is a great tool. It instantly provides your location for emergency services. As we've seen in the previous briefing, the weather briefing, it looks like it'd be challenging conditions, including and particularly on the start. Take care and stand by to support others. Continue that listen out. Plan your delivery home, and if not heading north, ensure your next of kin is informed. IRC compliance and post-race. The CYCA Technical Committee may conduct IRC spot checks both before and up to 12 hours after you're finished. Boats should be prepared for potential inspection. Non-compliance may result in a protest. You may be contacted by the sailing office if you're selected for inspection. Some final notices. I think Sam's going to read out some names of anybody who may need to see the sailing office after this briefing. Thanks again and for your attention and your professionalism. Race well, race fair, and above all, race safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And I'd also like to say on behalf of the club that we're extremely grateful to have people of the calibre of Mark and the rest of the race committee who give their time to help support these races. So thank you so much. Okay, I'd like to also now introduce the SYC Commodore, Glenn Burrell. Here, Glenn.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm Glenn Burrell, Commodore at Southport Yacht Club. We also have Wayne Kirby, Vice Commodore at Southport Yacht Club, and Adrian Bold, our comms and PR manager, who've accepted the invitation to come down. So thank you for that. On behalf of the SYC board and management, we look forward to welcoming back competitors that have been there before, and also those Virgin Gold Coast, Sydney Gold Coast competitors. The Seaway, the Gold Coast Seaway has been rezoned as a bar, and as such, from the 1st of January this year, was implemented that if you're on deck in an open boat, you must have a life jacket on when entering and leaving the bar. So keep that in mind. They were not policing it until 1st of July. I haven't heard of anyone being policed for that yet, but it could be common sense to do that as well. Tara has printed off some of the latest hydrograph depth indicators of the Seaway entrance, which are available back there. There's enough for everyone, I think. But the Seaway has been dredged since Cyclone Alfred. There will also, you'll probably see a dredge, which is still taking sand off or putting it back onto the beaches. It's generally pretty close and shouldn't come into play when you're trying to finish. but just be aware of that. It's well lit at night, and you can't miss it during the day. The best approach for entering the Seaway is from the southeast. Once the northern wall light, the starboard light, has a bearing of about 290, you can point at that light. There's Bayview Towers, which is a fairly isolated high-rise in the background. You can take a transit of that and follow that line until you are in the middle of the opening of the Seaway, then just turn west. The depth over there will show at LAT there is at least 4.5 meters in that location. I think the tides minimum, there'll be another 1 meter on that during this race. But if you feel you want to wait, if you draw, say, more than 4.5 meters, you want to wait for an incoming tide, and you want to get some crew transferred off the boat, just let the Southport Yacht Club Southern Committee know, and they'll come out with ribs and accommodate that. Some boats may not be coming in through the Seaway, and if you want some crew transfers done, if you're heading on further north or heading back to Sydney, please let them know that as well, so we can monitor that. Once you're in the Seaway, there will be one of our volunteers on a Southport Yacht Club rib, probably closer down towards the yacht club. They'll be on VHF channel 09, and they will meet you and guide you into your berth at the Southport Yacht Club, where our newly renovated bar will be open 24 hours from the time the first boat arrives till the last boat arrives. And the kitchen will have a limited menu for some hot meals, which I'm sure you'll all be appreciative of. So are there any questions about the other end? All right, well, good luck, everyone. We look forward to welcoming you at the finish, and best of luck in the race. So well.
Thank you, Glenn. Yeah, this is a fantastic destination race, ending up at the Southport Yacht Club with, yeah, I didn't realise you had a renovated new bar, but fantastic. And hopefully everyone has a great time when they get there. It's an awesome situation and finishing this particular race. Talking of destination races, also wanted to mention the Trans-Tas race, which will taking place in February next year, which is going to have a staggered start, so everyone will be arriving at the destination roughly at the same time, similar to, say, the Transpac, and that's a race which I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of, because it's coming up quite quickly. It's also being held in conjunction with the Cabbage Tree Island race and the 80th Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race, which will become the Southern Cross Series. So linking those races together gives us an awesome event, and just like to point that out and promote it, and hopefully there'll be some of you which can compete in that particular series. Finally, there is some documentation, and there's divisional lists and marina berths at the back of the room, so just make those available. And then I also just need to call out some boats which could please make their way to the race office. I've got Gwen, Smuggler, Unicorn, and Summer Salt. That's correct. Yes, if you could please see Tara after the race, after the briefing. And then lastly, I'd like to say, in the words of Edward Townsend Medlock, thank you and good luck.